Welcome to Beyond the Breakdown, a podcast where we delve into rugby, life inside, alongside and outside of the sport and our brilliant local clubs. Together, we'll be reflecting on the challenges and opportunities facing former players, local fans and our communities in our changing world. Today, we're at Amman United, founded in 1903 and in its 123 years has produced some great players, Wales and Lions internationals. The ground sits in the Amman Valley just north of Swansea, surrounded by communities born from the coal pits. I'm here to catch up with Shane Williams, the legend and face of rugby in Wales for so long, but always the boy from the Amman. Well, diolch o galon. Shane, thanks for joining us on the pod.
Problem. Good to be here.
Well, do you know what? I've loved being here in Amman United. Like, we've been here, I don't know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it is wonderfully chaotic. It's absolutely lush. When I was booking this place, we got a small team, and I called the club. Yes, it's Michaela. How can I help you? Oh, my name is Richard Parks. We're working with a team that developing podcast, and we're interviewing Shane. We wonder if we could come and interview him here in the club. Oh, Shane, do you want me to go and get him for you? You must have been here around years. I was like, no, I don't want you to talk to him, Michaela. Can we just book a date? Like, absolutely lush. What does this club mean to you?
Well, the odds were pretty stacked that I was in the club, to be fair. I'm here quite often, probably having a pint in the corner. Look, it means a lot to me. I'm from this area. I was born in this area. So I've been here 40 odd years. And probably nothing's even changed in this club since I first started coming here, junior rugby, really. So, it means a lot. There's a lot of characters, Michaela being one of them.
She's lush, by the way. I never met her, but
I think you met a few this morning already, haven't you? But no, that's what it's all about. All my family here and my wife's family, and my kids have played rugby for the Amman. I played for the Amman, and so I had no real reason to leave the area. I certainly leave this club. You can't.
You're coaching here now, is that right?
Yeah, I've been coaching my boys since under 8s. I say coach. It took a couple of years to coach my boy. I remember I got asked to help coach when my boy started, and I remember taking my boots to train in. Carter had his first boots. He ran on the pitch, and I done my boots up, jumped over the railing to start training, and he's gone, "Dad, you've had your time, this is my time," and literally stopped me training the team. And that went on for about 2 or 3 years where he just wouldn't let me coach.
Wow.
Which was fine. But then eventually when he started getting a bit more serious about it, and I was kind of introduced back in, and I've been with him, coaching with him and the boys now since under 8s, and they are their youth now, first year of youth. So it's been a while. Loved it, absolutely loved it.
I'm at the beginning of that journey. My son's under 7s now, and a bit like you, I got roped into coaching him and part of a great volunteer team of coaches. And do you know what? I've said this before, but I think Fred, my son, I think he gave me the game back. I had kind of 10, 15 years out of the game, doing other things and traveling the world and stuff. And you kind of forget what rugby means, what it is, and seeing the boys in the clubhouse after a game, you're all fighting over a hot dog and, running around the club, like there's places like this and Llandaff where we play, like that's rugby to me. That's what rugby's about. 100%.
I think, it was quite weird when I finished rugby. As soon as I finished, I felt like I'd finished years and years ago. I just felt so out of it, It's a difficult place to be sometimes, isn't it? It's like no man's land where I thought, well, you were pretty decent at rugby and you were quite important in that role. Now, got that, what's my identity? How do I find myself? And this went on for a while. Obviously, my kids were quite young when I quit, and until Carter kind of started playing and training then, I started remembering then, actually, this is why I enjoyed it, even in the rainy days when you're out there and you're mud up to your knees, just running around with the kids. Like you say, in the clubhouse afterwards, seeing them kind of form those relationships and those bonds with the boys around them. It kind of took me back to the rugby days. And when I finished playing, I did commentary and punditry work. That was fine, but I just didn't want to watch any rugby on telly.
Yeah, I was the same.
I was like, well, what's the point now? Because, I've been doing it for so long, it'd be nice to have a break from it. But until Carter started playing it, and I just, I watch every game. My favourite games were the games on the Sunday morning, or now the Friday evening or the Saturday afternoon, watching not only Carter, but some of the youngsters that I've been working with, some of the boys I've been working with since they were 9 years of age.
Wow.
And watching them develop and see how they go. And, we're at that kind of important stage now where, the nonsense of academies and where they're going to play next comes in.
Yeah. Well, it's quite a big drop-off age, isn't it?
It's a scary age for drop-off. And, we see boys now that were absolutely ripping it up at 12, 13 years of age. They're looking around now thinking, why am I as good as I was before? Well, it's not that you're not as good. It's just everyone develops in different times, So it's a really interesting stage at the minute. But I'm loving it. I've got involved obviously with the youth at the Amman United, and I'm head of rugby at my Ysgol Amman, my old comprehensive. With players like Jack Morgan have come through. Believe it or not, Harry Randall and
that's really cool. I didn't know that.
So it's a big school for rugby. So I'm back there now helping out with the academy and absolutely loving it. And my interest in rugby is kind of back a little bit now because there's a little bit more for me to invest in, I suppose, and I'm still learning as well. The game develops, and I want to better myself as a coach as time goes on. So it's a really interesting time for these boys.
Well, there's so much that rugby has given us, and through the lens of our sons and the boys and girls coming through the system now, it's got so much to offer, particularly in Wales and particularly, in the context of Welsh identity and Welsh culture. I want to keep this upbeat. This is a positive podcast series, but I can't help but be a little bit worried about where the game is going and how that impacts clubs like this, and the communities that they serve as well. Yeah. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I do, especially certainly more recently. I suppose when you're playing and you say you're kind of at the top or whatever, you don't worry, you don't think about things like that. I think when you retire and you reflect from the outside and you've got children and you've got an hidden investment with some of the other boys and girls that are also training and playing. You do, and I'm the same. What worries me at the minute is there's a huge problem in rugby in Wales. The WRU have identified the fact that there's that we've got too many regions, that there's not enough money in Wales to sustain the 4 regions, that the academies need a little bit of a reshuffle, etc., etc. That's all well and good, but where do they think these players are coming from?
Exactly.
They don't just turn up at Parc y Scalas, knock the door and go, look, I'm ready to play professional rugby. Exactly. Yeah, I'm 16 years of age. Where do I go? Where do I sign?
Nobody's talking about this level at the moment.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You start your rugby as a junior at these clubs. Hopefully you keep playing all the way through to the youth. That means you're doing the same in school. And then from school, if you're good enough, then a minority get the opportunity to play for the regions, wherever it is. And that's the way I think the WRU are looking at it. Now, there's a lot of kind of fiddly bits in between where, it's great to have these clubs go in and getting these kids coming through at all ages, but then in school as well, at the minute, we're just expecting these kids to be good enough in school without very little training or coaching, and then 1% of them might go on and play for Wales. What we need to be thinking about is, well, rather than just as 1%ers, how do we get more youngsters to come through? Therefore, the law average is that there's going to be more and better players playing for Wales. So that's why I got involved with the school rugby as well, where I said, look, if I'm coming on board, I want to train these, probably from 15 to 18 years of age in a professional environment.
It's important time in your development as well.
It is, because the drop off is huge. So in school for us, for example, now I've got 15-year-olds up to 18 where I've got them training as professional international rugby players. We'll have a rugby session. We'll weights on the Monday, forwards in the morning, backs in the afternoon. We'll have a video analysis during registration. We'll have a rugby session then after school on a 3G pitch which is important as well with the weather in Wales. I know it sounds a bit
oh no, it's massive.
Pedantic, but we need it.
Yeah.
On the Tuesday we will have mornings off, so they'll have a team run because the schools and colleges play on the Wednesday. We'll have our game on Wednesday. On the Thursday morning we have pool recovery. We have a physio.
Oh, it's a hell of a program.
Oh yeah, we have a physio come in and the kind of assesses the players that have niggles. And then on the Friday, we will have weights again. So it'll be forwards in the morning, backs in the afternoon. We will have a preview of the match and analysis, and we'll have a rugby run through on Friday afternoon. Then some of those players will have a game on either Friday evening or Saturday evening, where we manage those players, discuss with the clubs, look, don't play Tom today because he's played 70 minutes on Wednesday. They have the Sunday off. Bang, they go again and start on the Monday. Now, that's how we trained as professional athletes, We didn't do any more than that.
No.
And we didn't do any less. And so in my opinion then, these players are ready then from between the age of 15 to 18 that if they do get the call to go to the Scarlets or the Ospreys or wherever, they're ready and waiting and ready to go. Now, what annoys me then is there is no support whatsoever from the WRU for these schools and colleges.
Yeah.
And they're just
no one's even talking about it, let alone,
not even
financially planning how they support them.
So what the annoying thing then is that, okay, there are players that are good enough in those schools that go on and play for the Scarlets or wherever it may be, but I'm training these, and we are, as other schools and colleges, all ex-players as well, international and professional players as well, which is great.
Yeah.
Preparing these players and, hoping for that they're, rather than one or two of them be the superstar kid, the quarterback.
Yeah.
We got 10 boys now that we've been training as professional athletes that we think will do a job at regional level and may progress and mature a little bit later on and maybe become future international players. Who knows?
Yeah.
So instead of every school having that one superstar that the Scarlets are keeping an eye on, we've got 10 of them.
Yeah.
So they come out to school and the development I've seen I've only been there a season and a half or a term and a half. Development I've seen from some of these players is just through the roof.
Oh yeah, I can
and
imagine.
The Scarlets are going out, hey, where's he come from? So he's always been there.
Yeah.
But I'm training him. I've invested in him through the school. One, he's twice the player he was before we started this. And two, he's going to have 2 A-levels at the end of this.
Yeah.
He's got the qualifications. They're ready to go.
Yeah. Well, talking about ready to go, there's a flip side to that coin, because I can see what you're doing is driven by wanting to wanting to create a better pipeline for Welsh rugby players. But actually what you're doing, and I think what rugby does, and I don't think we really appreciate it, is it makes better people.
Yeah.
Like of all the players that go through rugby and that have the infrastructure that you're providing, and clubs like the Land After that I'm part of provide. You're teaching them communication skills, you're teaching them resilience, you're teaching them determination. All of these life skills beyond academic education that schools can't give because they don't have the resources or the infrastructure to give. Like we're equipping a generation with life skills, and I think sometimes in Wales, I think particularly Wales, but I'm Welsh, so that's always my lens, if you know what I mean. We don't talk about how rugby can serve Wales. It's often like how Wales serves rugby. Do you know the slight nuance there?
Well, yeah, like if I look at me as an example, when I was young, I didn't speak unless I was spoken to. That was the way I was kind of brought up. And in schools, I wouldn't get involved in things like dramas or plays or singing. And it petrifies me. But through rugby, and it's tough love sometimes in rugby.
It is, yeah.
They know you're the quiet one. They'll put you in charge of fines or discipline where that's what they used to do, didn't they? They know the boys that are chirpy. They put them on the music,
exactly,
or they put them. They'd be part of the leadership group, or they'd be in charge of laundry or whatever it may be. But you never left anyone out.
No.
So like I got to the point where I was petrified to say anything. When I started playing for Neath, I had to talk up because
that was a different time as well.
Yeah.
Was that under Lynn?
God. That was Lynn Jones. That was the first year of professional rugby.
Maverick, right? I mean, I have a lot of respect for Lynn.
Yeah,
great guy,
unbelievable.
But a wild one, right?
But he was wild. But he knew, I didn't really like speaking to anyone, let alone the press. But every time the cameras came to the knoll, during, I don't know, meetings or during training or games, he'd go, right, Shane, you're up for press. I'd be like, Lynn, I've never done press before. He goes, I don't care. You're going to have to start, if you want to be a superstar, you're going to have to start talking to the camera. And that's how I got into kind of talking to the camera. And then I look back and I think, well, I've done TV programs. I've done interviews. I'm on the telly now. Yeah. People look at me, how the hell have you gone from where you used to be to now? Yeah.
That's rugby.
That's through rugby, especially, So, and we do that at the school. We have boys in charge of laundry now. We have boys in charge of discipline and fines. We have the guy who's got the ghetto blaster who plays his music. Some awful bloody music.
That's a tough gig, that is, in charge of music. You can't please everyone, you see.
But then we've got a tour coming up now in the summer, and we're delegating boys to do different jobs, and we have, rather than have just one captain all the time, we bring captains through that, if you look at them 6 months ago, there's no way this kid's a captain. You make them captain, and then they've got a responsibility, and you can see when people start listening to the captain, they're like, oh, that gives them huge confidence. Does, and that's rugby. It's horrible at times, but the difference I've seen in some players, or some of the boys, not only on the field but off the field, is incredible. That's what it's all about. And you learn the hard way, I suppose, but it's made a huge difference, and that's got nothing to do with throwing a rugby ball around. That's just being part of that group.
Exactly.
Finding your place.
Yeah.
And
it's about belonging, isn't it? That's quite a big word for me.
Yeah, definitely belonging, and and giving them that little kind of extra string to the bow where they can go, well, actually, I've learned a lot from this. Not just playing, but I can speak up. When I talk, people actually do listen. Yeah,
and I've got value, great.
Yeah,
so
huge.
I read preparing for this interview that you've been quite vocal about some of the games being called off, and that the black hole of cancelled games. And it's all well and good talking about we get a lot of rain in Wales, and but the weather, the environment, it is changing, right? And the impact that has on rugby clubs is real, and communities. So it's not just, people often talk about the finances of it, and that's real, clubs not opening, not being able to sell pints over the bar. But actually, this conversation, listening to you, what do the boys do on a Saturday if there's no game, and like, where do they go? What's their outlet for them? Like, have you had any experience of that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, Christmas is always a fine example of that. Yeah. And the dates in which we are now, it's games are called literally, our game on Saturday has already probably been called off due to the weather that's coming in. That's why I'm a big advocate for training facilities, all your training facilities. Yeah. We're very lucky at our school that we managed to get a grant a few years back, whereas the boys can and the girls can train there as and when. I think that's huge. And we talk about the WIU and the powers above helping out the pathways of rugby. Well, that to me is getting the facilities so that we're able to do that, and 3G pitches, indoor facilities, just even astroturfs where you're able to kind of run around and do some kind of fitness or workouts where it might be torrential rain, but you can still get out there and do something. And yeah, it is hard. We do live in Wales and the weather isn't the best, let's be honest. But it's things like investing in sort of drainage and stuff for clubs and schools, and making sure that happens. But there's nothing much more we can do about that at the minute. But
do you know what's really interesting, right? Was it either September or December? Wales has had 180% of its annual rainfall. Like we're a wet country. I mean, it rains a lot here, right? But it is raining more. Like the weather patterns are changing, and if we want to continue providing these spaces for young people, for young people's development, well, we've got to invest in protecting that through the year, And I don't know. it strikes me that rugby at the moment in Wales is in like an existential period, and I'm really hopeful. Like, come to places like this, I love it. You know, I love Sundays in Llandaff with the boys. Don't get me wrong, but you know, you've got one challenge at a financial administrational level that's all the dialogue's about. You know, at the moment, but down here in the roots, you know, you've got like real issues. You know, and a big part of that is an environmental challenge. You know.
Yeah. It is, and you know, you look at just this club, for example. Now, you know, we forever. I think it always comes down to finance. It always comes down to finance, doesn't it? And we forever every week at the Amman doing like fundraisers or putting on a show. We got Andy Powell here next month as well.
I seen the poster actually in the toilet. Yeah.
Whatever it takes to get people through the doors, you know. So that's exactly, you know, bless him, loving a bit. So looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
But you know, we're forever trying to do that, and it's the same at the school.
Yeah.
You know, I'm forever fundraising through sponsorship and local businesses, just to make sure that we can keep the academy going. That's unfortunately the nature of the beast in Wales at the minute. So we're always doing that.
I feel like we're starting to see the impact of a changing world as well. Like when we were playing, when we started playing, well, it was just rugby. You know, it was rugby. Whereas now, like young boys and girls that are coming into the game now, look at the competition that they have for their attention, you know, their time. And if you can't give an offering that captures their attention at, you know, 8, 9, 10, and then at your demographic, the teenage years, well, no one's going to stay. You're not going to get people in, you know. And I don't know, you know, when you talked about the money then, I mean, listen, 15, 30 grand, it's real money. But as you said, in the context of, you know, a global corporation, it's not a lot of money. And I remember talking to Chief, you know, about some of the challenge up at Anasa Bull. And we're talking like 2 or 3 grand just to turn the hot water on so players can have hot showers. We're not talking like big bucks here. You know, and I don't know. We've been down to the Brewery Field in Bridgend, and there's some really, really great stuff happening there around a transition to renewable energies and more sustainable energy, but also the impact that's having on the running costs of the ground. So, you know, I don't know. I feel hopeful for it, but I don't know. It is scary, you know, especially when you look at it through a fatherhood lens, because I want my son to enjoy the game and get as much out of the game as you and I did.
Yeah, you know, you're right. You talk about sustainability. It's not just, you know, renewable energy or the environment. It's also, you know, for the players as well.
Exactly.
You know, we want them to play for as long as they possibly can. Well, we did it for a long time, right? We did it. We didn't start as professionals, right?
No.
School. Schools and colleges, whatever it may be, and then it wasn't even academies for me back then. It was straight into the deep end, right? Loved every second of it.
It was straight from youth to that first game. Oh my God, terrified.
Yeah.
Like,
well, my first game for Neath was against Pontypridd in Sardis Road against you know, Paul John, and you had Neil Jenkins, Kevin Morgan, Chief bust my nose my first touch of the ball. Well, his first touch of the. No, he didn't touch the ball actually. So
he just bust your nose.
He just broke my nose. But that's what it was, and I remember being petrified before, during, and after. But I loved it. I loved it, and if I didn't play for Neath ever again, I always had that, you know. So look, it is hard. Like I said earlier, I'm trying to keep these boys engaged. I'm trying to keep them involved, whether or not they're going to be international players, second choice in you know, in Amman United, Amford or T-Cross, wherever it may be, or regional players. We want them to keep engaged and keep enjoying it, and you know, to do that as well. You talk about keeping people engaged, like in football. You know, if you want to play football, football's a big counter against rugby as well. I love football. I love watching it. I played it myself, you know. So that kind of takes from the rugby side of it as well. But that's sport, and we've always kind of had that. But what we're trying to do in schools now and in these clubs is keep them engaged, keep them enjoying it, you know, keep them playing in competitive leagues and cups, make them feel part of something really, really special. And then the bonus is, oh, well done, congratulations, you've done really well for the Amman or for the school. Kamal and Quins want to have a look at you. Llandyfri want to have a look at you. Oh, well done. Scarlets want you to train with the first team. Bang, you train, right? If you're good enough and you're in the future develop to be that good, well done. Here's a Scarlets contract, etc., etc. Look, I think if you played like that and you kind of build them up so that there's not that massive drop off.
Yeah.
Then
it's a big cliff to fall off.
It is a massive
it?
cliff, and they stay engaged, they enjoy it, they're part of something special. They know the camaraderie, and the bonus is tap on the back. Well done. You're out of this team now because you're going to play for a higher league. And
there's a fallback as well, because
Yeah.
you can always drop back down as well.
Yeah.
In your experience, do they, at the moment, when boys or girls, but when players get that call up to regional rugby and then it doesn't quite work out for whatever region, do they stay in the game, or do we just lose them?
Some stay in the game, but I think we lose too many to through the system then. Also as well, when it doesn't quite work out for them, or they go to university or whatever, or future employment, they're forgotten about completely. Now, rather than, I know in England they keep an eye on players that have shown potential in the past and then have gone on to university. And I was speaking to Adam Jones actually up in Harlequins, and they bring a lot of players through the university system. I don't think Wales do.
No.
And we moan about we don't have enough players coming through. Well, I'd find every kind of avenue possible to bring as many players through as you possibly can. And we see at this level where
we see it in America, don't we? Like American sports, everything is
you've got to. There's still
processed through unis.
There's still athletes.
Of course.
There's still athletes, right? So and I found it with the school with us. A lot of boys were quite promised a lot, didn't quite work out for them, and have gone to university and have just got on with their lives. That's great. Going to university is great. Don't get me wrong. But there's also been boys that have kind of finished school and who are really, really good players at a young age. And I go back and ask them, how's the rugby going? Oh, I'm not playing.
Yeah, sad.
Like, that's just crazy, we can't afford that in Wales. We don't have enough players coming through the system, and I think that's why I'm involved with the school rugby and the club rugby now. I want to keep as many of the boys in the club before, during, and after games, in school, to hopefully go on and fulfil their potential in whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's rugby, and hopefully it's something else as well.
Well, it's about creating good humans as much as creating good players, right?
Yeah.
We off air before when we were setting up, you mentioned that you might not have made it. You might not have been picked up or recognised at the way the system is at the moment. Can you explain that a little bit? Because I didn't quite get where you're going at the time.
Yeah, I think...
Because you're Shane Williams, right?
Well, yeah.
The man, the legend.
I was. Look, I just work it out that, look, we put a lot of pressure on 15-year-olds now in Wales, rugby players. And at 15, I was very, very average at rugby. I played in the B team. I played a lot of soccer. And I was a gymnast. Absolutely loved it. And I was in the B team because I wasn't good enough, One, I wasn't physically ready at 15, and I probably wasn't physically ready all the way through comprehensive school. Hence, I played a handful of games.
Yeah.
Now, in Wales at the minute, we got a cracking 15-year-old. We're going to put 2 years into this person, and then at 17, 18, they're either the next best thing, the next superstar, or more often than not, didn't quite fill the potential. See you later. And that happens a lot.
I understand
so, me at 15, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough up until probably about 19 years of age, where I eventually hit puberty. I was a bit earlier than that, right? But I kind of, I filled out. Of course, of course, I'm not the biggest man in the world, but physically and powerfully, I could compete with grown men.
Yeah.
And I was still playing soccer at the time.
Yeah.
Now, I finished playing football at the age of 20. I came and played my first season.
You're a goalkeeper. Do you play goalkeeper?
Initially.
Yeah.
But then I was on the left wing, all left foot. And I was pretty decent. I had a couple of trials for Swansea. It went all right. But at 21 years of age, my mates were, again, all my old mates at the Amman messaged me and said, look, come up and have a game for the Amman. After the game, we're having a few pints in the club. I get the boys back together. I said, go on. So I came up and I played a game. I scored 5 tries in my first... kind
of course
outing.
You did.
We play LAN, right? We stuffed them, right? But I scored, and I thought, I was all right. You know, I remember
like
why I used
this,
to love rugby in school prior to not being selected. And that was it. That was the flip. I started playing for the Amman United. I was 21 years of age. I played a season. I get picked up by Neath at the age of, I was still 21, so it was less than a year. And then at the age of 22, a week before my 23rd birthday, I'm playing for Wales.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't happen now because I'd have been forgotten about. Because I wasn't good enough at a young age. I didn't get in any district. I certainly didn't have any Welsh caps, and I didn't play for a region or a professional club at a young age.
Yeah.
So I'd have been, and I wasn't going to university. There's no chance I'd have got in any university in the world. So I'd have been forgotten about completely, and I probably would have fallen off the map, or I'd have played for the Amman until probably still now. You know, so. That's why
That's really impactful, that is.
Yeah, but that's why I'm quite passionate about it.
Yeah, I understand.
You know, I know I wouldn't have made it in this era. There's other players as well. You talk about Ryan Jones. People didn't realise he was a footballer up until his late teens. Lee Byrne was in his early 20s when he got picked up by the Scarlet. He was playing at Tondy, I believe. Aaron Wainwright, footballer, you know.
Yeah.
So it just says to me, look, I think we're giving up on some of our players far too early, where, you know, when they hit their peak, you know what it's like as a rugby player as well, as an international or professional rugby player. Yeah, you play well, or you're consistent or inconsistent, whatever, but you'll have that one season where you'll always look back and go, I done well that year, I was good that year, you know.
Was that 2008 for you?
2008 for me, yeah. You know, I'd like
World
to think I had other
Player
good
of the
seasons.
Year.
Well, yeah, but you know,
only Welshman to be awarded that.
Yeah, but 4 years before that, I'm not playing for Wales. I'm not even. I get dropped from the squad. I'm thinking of giving up rugby, and then I hit 2008, win the Grand Slam, have a great season with the Ospreys. You know, things just everything I touched turned to gold. You know, so you get those years.
Hey, diolch. Thanks for listening. I'm Richard Parks, and stay tuned for more Beyond the Breakdown. But give me a minute to share why I'm doing this. So many of us are worried about the future of Welsh rugby. There's so much noise around the game in Wales at the moment, yet nobody seems to be talking enough about what makes our game tick, our clubs. Without our local rugby clubs, there is no game in Wales. At the heart of our community so often sit our clubs, places where we go to play, celebrate, mourn, or just be there for one another. Yet I've spoken to clubs that are struggling to heat their showers because they can't afford their energy bills, and extreme weather is causing games to be called off up and down Wales. Life's hard enough as it is at the moment, and so many of us just don't have the headspace to engage with climate. But I want my son and all our children to inherit a Wales and a world that's as beautiful as the one that we were given. And that's why I'm proud to partner with Round Our Way on this podcast series. Round Our Way is an organisation that supports people who've been impacted by climate change, lifting people's voices so that they're heard. Let's listen to some of those voices now.
It's where I started a long time ago, and it means a lot to you. It's where I came back to. You know, I went off to play rugby, but in the end, you always come back. I always think you'll come back to your club, and this is my club.
I think it's just that sense of keeping the well-being alive, really, and you know, being part of something. I think is massive for everybody.
I think climate change is getting worse, and we see extreme weather. There's a lot more now. Whether we get storms, they're a lot more frequent than I witnessed previously. Obviously, we potentially don't have many cold snaps with snow and stuff. So that's one thing that we don't get cancelled games for is frost or snow anymore. But obviously the wet weather is a big factor in Wales and on rugby pitches where they do get really boggy and a lot of games do get cancelled because of the weather.
But I think the one thing Ammanford brings to it is that sense of joy, a bit of fun. There's, you know, you come in here on the weekend and there's children running about and you know, we're happy to include all the children, all the families. It's such a big part of the club. And as we've, you know, grown and got better, that hasn't stopped. We've encouraged it even more. So newer players come here, and they don't leave very often because there's such a sense of joy in the club.
You can hear more from these amazing people and delve more into the background on each episode of the podcast at www.beyondthebreakdown.org or on my Insta. Now let's get back to the podcast. Looking back now, talking to you now, like I said earlier, one of if not Wales's greatest player, and I know you don't take compliments. I know you're not that guy, right? But like an absolute legend of the game, an icon. The most tries, the highest try scorer for Wales, the only Welsh player to win World Player of the Year. How many Grand Slams do you win? 2 or 3?
Two.
3 Lions tours.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep. And actually, when I did a bit of research, like throughout your career, like there was so much, you had so many periods of your career where you fell out of favour. Like it's quite wild that when it all finished, you have been so successful, but during it, like you showed a hell of a lot of resilience. Yeah,
well, that's one thing that I felt like I've always had it. As a youngster, as a kid, my mother and father divorced when I was young, so I was always kind of the man of the house. I got 2 sisters and a brother, so I always kind of felt responsible in that sense. So I think if you're not resilient, then you're never going to be. In school, I was told all the time, I wasn't big enough and good enough to play for the first team.
Well, even throughout your career, that was that narrative, wasn't
it?
Yeah,
it was, and when you're a kid as well, it hurts a little bit. But you're a kid, you're quite resilient then, and I was quite tough in that sense mentally. But then when you start playing, when you go around the clock and you've kind of became a professional rugby player, you're thinking, right, I've cracked it now. Oh, this is great, I've cracked it. Even though I'm still getting criticised on the papers, this guy's not big enough. I'm thinking, well, no, here's my contract. I'm still scoring tries for Neath. I'm still doing okay. Get selected for Wales. I think I scored. I wasn't probably physically ready in 2000, but I played for Wales a week before my 23rd birthday. That was my first cap, and I think relatively successful. 6 Nations for Wales. Scored 3 tries in my first championship, and then I get dropped from the national team again for not being physical and big enough for 18 months. Now that really tested my resilience because,
How did you feel in that time?
I honestly, I felt like I'd been punched in the guts for 18 months. I really felt hard done by.
Yeah. You can't escape it in Wales.
No, you
as in the
you
Goldfish
can't.
Bowl,
No, it's the same as now. When there's a crisis in Wales, everyone wants to talk about it all the time. What's happening in Welsh rugby? Shane, is it going to be 4 regions or 3 next year? And back then he was like, well, Shane, why has he dropped you? How does it feel? How are you going to bounce back from this? And I was it was 18 months of hell. I absolutely hated it. I hated Steve Hansen with a passion. We've made up since. But I just felt really hard done by. But so, so when you look at my career...
Did it affect the way you played week in, week out?
Yeah, it did. I went away and thought, right, okay, the only way I can get back in this team when Steve is coaching is to be bigger. I started smashing creatine. I started eating everything under the sun. I was putting weight on. Okay, on the beach I looked pretty good, but my fitness wasn't what it was. I certainly wasn't as agile, and I definitely wasn't as fit and as quick. So when I was playing for Neath then, because I'd put so much weight on in such a short period of time, I was tearing my hamstring or my calf, and it was just horrendous. And when I was playing, I just wasn't playing as well because I wasn't as sharp. I took all my strengths out of my game to try and please this New Zealand coach that didn't know me very well. And it took 18 months really for me to grow up, come away from the game for a little bit. I was seeing psychologists and physios on constantly, so mentally and physically in a bad place.
Do you have anyone to talk to in that time?
No, not really. I kind of hid it away. My mother noticed the difference really. She used to call me a miserable git for those 18 months and give me a few hard truths. My my mates were like, "Oh, look, Shane, just don't worry about it. Let's go out and have a pint." And I was probably drinking too much back in the day as well. It was kind of my release, my escape to stop worrying about it. The problem was, the next day I'd get up, feel horrendous, wouldn't train the next day. I'd turn up to training on Monday, freaking rough. And I'd make excuses not to train then. Oh yeah, my hamstring is still not right. So, I'd rather have treatment than go out and train. I lost the hoil, as they say. I lost the kind of the spirit of what rugby's all about. And this went on for 18 months to the point where I thought, well, Shane, you're either going to have to quit the game or you're going to have to man up and just get on with it. And I gave up the ghost of Wales. I just thought, right, don't worry about playing for Wales anymore.
Well, you didn't think you'd ever play again?
No. And I just thought, right, just start playing well for Neath. And I remember I went to see Lynn Jones once, and after the 8 months, I said, Lynn, can I just apologise for my attitude? And my contract was up at the end of the year as well. So I was like,
that's really self-aware, by the way.
Yeah.
Of you, I mean.
Yeah, but I either just give up or I kind of man up to it and I just have a go. And I said, Lynn, look, I'm really sorry about the last 18 months. I said, I don't need psychologists anymore. I'll keep having the physio, but give me 6 weeks. And I'm going to try and get back to my best. And it literally took 6 weeks. I forgot. I kind of shedded a bit of weight.
I know you said you decided to, whatever phrase that you use, whether it's man up or you actually just lean into it or you just commit to move forward. But what changed in those 6 weeks?
Well, I just looked at myself and I thought, well, Shane, you've got your job is playing rugby. Now, what else are you good at? I'm actually not good at anything else. Academically, I'd done all right in school, but it was only GCSEs. Finished school early, so I didn't have any A-levels. Certainly didn't go to university. I didn't have a trade. And I was like, Shane, you're moaning about a job that you've probably, it's the job that any 8-year-old youngster in Wales would give their right arm for. And you're moaning about the fact that this guy won't pick you, and it was just a big reality check that if I want to keep doing this, I need to wise up really, really quick. And I did. I shedded weight. I remember during the summer just training my ass off on my own because I was scared of not being a rugby player anymore. I had 18 months where I didn't care about it, but then reality hit me, and I thought, well, you get dropped at the end of the year. This could be it. You might never ever play rugby ever again, and certainly get paid for it at the same time. So I just went away and worked hard on my own. Lynn Jones was great. Any extra sessions I needed, he'd either do them with me, or he'd have me do it with the fitness or or in the gym with the coaches there. And I got to 6 weeks and I was getting somewhere. And he said, "Look, Shane, Dora, brilliant. We want you as a Neath player, and you're secure for next year." And I started playing well. I took over kicking duties that year as well, which is bonkers because I couldn't kick the skin off a rice pudding. But the confidence just came back,
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, he goes, "Right, I think we're ready to get you back in our Welsh team." And that was World Cup 2003. Even though I went over as a third choice scrum half. And I was told by Steve Hansen, there's a good chance you're not going to play any rugby over there. I just thought, look, Shane, this is your chance. And I went over there and I played in the last pool game against New Zealand. We lost the match, but I had man of the match, which is unheard of. And then I told Steve before the quarterfinal, I said, "Steve, you do realise now, mate, this is my jersey, and it's going to take something special to get it off my back." And he said, "We'll see."
You'd have loved that.
It was brilliant, and he did love it, and he, and after that, I didn't. That jersey was mine up until the Australia game 2011, and but it made me a better player because I had that to look back on and think, I don't ever want to go through that shit ever again for 18 months. And to do that, you've got to be on top of your game, mate, because there's players that want that jersey. If me and you are now mates, we're both on the wing, we both want to play for Wales, you're going to want to train twice as hard as I am to get that jersey off me. There's no hard feelings, but you want that jersey. And that was my attitude afterwards. I'd be like, right, okay, well, Lee Halfpenny probably wants my jersey now, so I'm going to have to train better than him every time. And every time I play, I'm going to have to play better. Then George North and these guys came along, class players. Obviously, your Mark Joneses and your Rhys Williamses and Craig Morgans over the years, David James, Alfie. I was just like, right, I've just got to be better than these guys every time I touch those boots on a rugby field, whether it's training or playing, and that was my mentality, and it worked because I got better every year. It's no surprise to me that I was playing my best rugby in my early 30s because I was petrified of losing my job or losing my place to someone who was equally as good as me, but perhaps didn't train as hard as I did, or perhaps didn't give, an extra % during those games where I was blowing out of my backside, and I thought, I don't want to get subbed, because if I get subbed and that fella comes on and has a stormer, I might not play next week. So that was, but that being dropped from the Welsh team was the best 18 months of my rugby life, really, when I look back. At the time, it was horrendous. I hated it. But it made me the player I eventually became, I think.
I really appreciate you sharing that. I am listening to you, and I completely absorbed in that. I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. But everything you said, Shane, really resonated with me, because I went through a really similar period when I retired. So when injury ended my career, I fell into the darkness that you talked about, and I had a period of poor mental health and hitting rock bottom, so to speak, or feeling like you're at the bottom, that period of adversity. It terrified me. I don't often talk about it like this, but actually I felt embarrassed. I felt guilty. I felt shame around feeling like that and feeling that lethargy, or feeling, just feeling like that. And the irony is, the last decade and a half of my life, all the experiences I've had, and the things I've achieved in this decade, I actually think is powered from that feeling of never, ever, ever wanting to go back there, never wanting to feel like that ever again. But it's quite remarkable that you had that feeling in the middle of your career, or as in during your career, which is almost like a mini retirement, isn't it? Like a mini.
Yeah, well, it nearly was a retirement. I had given up at one point with the rugby. I'd had enough, and I think what I felt was very isolated, because it was. I always used to think, all right, okay, this happens to probably a lot of players, but I think, no, hold on. I was playing for Wales last year, and I'm injured all the time, and I'm seriously considering giving it up, because I feel that I've been let down. I feel that I've been left out in the cold, and I thought, well, there's only me that feels that, because there's nobody else is in the same situation. So I felt very isolated, very scary, and
a lot of men feel that, by the way. Like you're around people around you, but actually a loneliness. You're in isolation.
Yeah, and I did, and the horrendous thing is that as well. When I used to see psychologists, I never really spoke about me. I was spoke about what it felt like then. Why aren't I getting selected? Why did I go and put so much weight on? What do I think I can do to get back in the team? It was never kind of personal. I never went away and thought, come away from there thinking, oh, hold on, Shane, this, you haven't really spoken about the fact that this is tearing you up inside, that you want to give up on something that you love more than anything at the time. And why the hell should I feel like this? And it is difficult, because I was an international rugby player. It's not as if I'd come from nowhere and thought, why am I being treated like this? I felt really hard done by. But the problem was, Steve Hansen wasn't the problem. I was the problem. And it broke my heart at times during that 18 months. And then I just thought, well, Lynn Jones was great, really good. He was someone. You talk to anyone about Lynn Jones, they're like, oh God, doesn't take anything seriously. But he was very deep, and very caring. He's a smart guy. Rugby knowledge through the roof, but cares. It doesn't come across that he cares at times, but we'd have these little conversations, and eventually we'd speak a lot really about. He used to tell me, look, Shane, you got potential to be something pretty special. You're talking about not wanting to do it anymore. Don't you think that's a little bit far-fetched? Don't you think we need to rein it in a little bit and think about baby steps? Look, let's see how much of that weight that we put on we can pull off in a week. And he just made it doable and realistic. No, I didn't think, oh, right, okay, give me 6 weeks. I'm going to play for Wales again. I'm going to be the best player in the world. I'm going to win 2 Grand Slams, etc. I got to the point where I thought, right, okay, I just want to be fit so I can play against Newport next week. Play against Haworth and all, all the ledges and see how it goes then. Next week, yeah, great. Newport went well. Well done, Shane. Brilliant. Told you you're good enough. Next week we've got Cardiff, some good players. Rhys Williams. Remember, Rhys Williams playing for Wales now. You're not. See how you go against him and Craig Morgan. And it was just baby steps. And, I just instantly started feeling better. I wake up every morning thinking, right, okay.
There's momentum in there.
You're getting there. You are getting there. It's not the end of the world. It's not impossible. Okay, let's see where I am on Tuesday. I'll see where I am on Wednesday. And like I say, I'm not saying that after 6 weeks I was on top of my game and I was the best player and I felt amazing, but I felt 10 times better than I did 6 weeks prior. A lot of that was Lynn Jones, really. I didn't really think that until we started talking about it now, but he was brilliant for me and has been brilliant since. He still keeps in touch and he's a character. I'll give him that, but he does care.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people in rugby.
Yeah.
From this level all the way up.
I think what's important as well is that it's not just me that's had a bad time in rugby or in any sport or any other walk of life. I just felt isolated because I really just did think I felt sorry for myself. I just thought it's only you really that's feeling like this.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. Do you know what? It's really just listening to you. There's so many things that have struck a chord with, I guess my lived experience as well. Because I look back on the period when I retired from rugby, thinking, it was the darkest period of my life, and I would not be here now without that. And to hear you say that as well, we don't talk.
No.
I don't mean me and you. I mean, like men. We find it difficult to talk and open up. So I really appreciate that. Do you know what? Shifting the tone a little bit or the mood. You talk about the highs. Hell of a career. Is there you talked about that one season, Nirvana, the season that kind of everything came together. That was the season around 2008. Like what? When did you realize you were on a wave, and can you identify anything that kind of elicited that wave, if you know what I mean?
It's really difficult. 08 by a country mile was my best season. The funny thing was it all started in 07.
Of course it did.
I was playing some decent rugby, but I had just before the summer, I dislocated my shoulder. I had a few problems with my other shoulder, and I had a problem with my elbow. I had a motorbike accident when I was younger. I can say that now because I wasn't allowed to be on bikes when I was
in the
when I had a rugby contract, but those days are gone. And I had a real problem with my ulnar nerve, your funny bone, so to speak. And he used to cramp my hand up, which is not good if you're a rugby player, really. So in 07, before the World Cup, Gareth Jenkins was the coach, and I went up to him and said, "Look, I want to be fit for the World Cup, but I've got a couple of issues." I was like, "Literally, I need 3 operations. Can I have them done all at once? And then I'll, fingers crossed, it'll give me enough time to come back for the World Cup." And I had those done. So I had 2 arms. Both my arms were in slings. Prior to the summer, it was at the end of the season. So had the injury, done a lot of rehab. I was really keen. I needed to get back for this World Cup because the funny thing was, I felt really good within myself. I was fit prior to the operations. The rugby was going really well. I was playing well. I was on I felt I was on this wave. Had the operation done. In my head, again, it was like, oh, you get a little bit depressed when you get the injuries. You're like, oh, am I going to get back? How quick am I going to get back? How well is, Mark Jones training? How's, all these things go through your mind. But I was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'll do it. So I had these operations. Got the slings off really early. Wasn't meant to. But started kind of doing fitness on my own down the park. Then I would go up and train up in the Vale. I was working my ass off because I wanted to make this World Cup. Missed a couple of games, the friendlies prior to to the World Cup starting, and got to the end of the summer, and I was fit. I was fit. I was lean. What I wasn't was match fit. And so I spoke to Gal. I said, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel great." He said, "Good. The coaches are saying you're looking good. The rehab's gone well. You know, obviously we want you in the squad and everything, but you know, you're not going to play any rugby. Will you be okay?" I was like, "Look, trust me, I'll be fine." So you know, got into the World Cup squad. Went over to France, and I just hit the ground running. I was scoring tries for fun, and I was really loving it. I felt sharp. I felt fresh. I thought good things are going to happen in this World Cup. Problem was, we got knocked out the World Cup by Fiji, so it didn't go particularly well, really. But the funny thing was, I felt great.
Yeah.
I didn't feel great about losing to Fiji.
Course,
don't get me
yeah.
wrong.
But
But
the different
personally,
things, you know, yeah.
Yeah, personally,
Yeah.
I felt things were going really well. Then we get knocked out the world by Fiji. Gareth Jenkins gets the sack. It's all doom and gloom in Wales, and I'm thinking, oh my God, here we go again. Warren Gatland becomes coach of Wales. Now I'm on this run now. I'm on this momentum. Hit the Six Nations, ready for it. And
Bear in mind, Gats was a Kiwi, like Steve.
yeah,
you
which
know.
is always a worry.
Yeah, did you think that?
Yeah, at the time I thought, you know, I looked at the players and the teams that he'd coached before. All seemed to be pretty big, sturdy wingers. But met with Gat straight away, and basically he's gone, look, Shane, you know, I've got a way that we want to play. What I'm going to give you is a free role with ball in hand. So you can play 9, you can play first receiver, second receiver, stay on the wing, full back. I don't care, but I want you to, you know, you work your socks off. I want 20 plus touches a game, which is unheard of as a winger. I was like, look, I can do that, no problem. He said, but we're changing our defensive system. It's called Blitz.
Yeah.
Sean Edwards is a rugby league coach. You probably know, yeah, of course I knew who he was. And he said, that means that we defend from the outside in. Now you're going to be lead blitz. And I was like, well, what's that mean? He said, well, you're going to go up first in the line and you're going to shut the ball off from going to the winger.
Push everyone back inside, yeah.
Shep them back inside, like an umbrella effect. So that means you're probably going to be making more tackles. So there's more contact, but we need more efficient tackles. Now, me smashing players behind the gain line wasn't my forte. But he said, what this will do, it'll elevate your game. It's going to make you a better player. And so we're going to be the best defensive team in world rugby. Now, you know, great.
It's a big statement,
It's a big statement. He's given me this role. You know, bear in mind, I'm 11 stone soaking wet. He's given me this role, but I've gone, right, okay, let's see how this works. So I kind of went away and looked at how they done it, looked at rugby league and how these defenders are coming out of the line. And we were one of the first rugby union teams to do it. Spent every single day with Sean Edwards, just either tackling tractor tyres or getting one of the biggest lads in the squad to run at me at full pelt. You know, I was used to tackling players, giving them the outside, taking them on the legs, taking them down, attempt the jackal, try and give over the ball. Now I'm giving them the inside line, so I can hit them with my, because I was left wing, my right shoulder. So it was a different ball game altogether. But I look back and think,
do you enjoy that responsibility?
I didn't at the time,
No.
because I thought, again, am I big enough? Am I ready for this? Is my game
You've
physical?
heard the fase, fake it till you make it. Was it a part of...
Well, it had to.
Yeah.
It had to. And I used to love it when, you know, the likes, you got Gavin Henson or you got Shanks or eventually you got your Foxies or Doc in the centre there, and you're thinking, right, okay, please 13 make this hit so I don't have to. But there were times where I've had to come out the line and it's literally, right, okay, get close enough, let's just put a shot and see what happens. And you know, majority of the time it kind of worked. You know, blitz is high risk, high reward. With high risk, there are mistakes as well. So, you know, it wasn't all perfect, but that's Six Nations. We conceded 2 tries the whole championship. Obviously, I came out of the tournament as player of the tournament, won the Grand Slam. And I'm looking at myself after the Six Nations thinking, this is it, this is your season. All defences are going to be going down this route. Because it just worked. Yeah. And I felt, I got to the point that probably wasn't completely comfortable halfway through that Six Nations, but it kind of worked. But at the end of that Six Nations, I thought, I can keep doing this. I can better myself at this, and it's going to make me a better player. And like I say, I worked with Sean, who was brilliant, one of the best coaches I've worked with. But it took my game from there to year, almost instantaneously. And we went over to South Africa and did it against the Springboks team. Okay, we didn't win those games, but we pushed the Springboks all the way. And I was just thinking, well, why isn't Brian Urbana getting as much of the ball, or getting as much freedom as usual? It was because of the way we defended.
Yeah. But is it true that at one point you held the squat record in the national squad? Is this like an urban myth, or is this true?
Yeah, well, being short definitely helps. And
This was true.
And a big ass, yeah. I was pretty good at all the power stuff. I was good at cleans, I was good at snatches and everything. I was good at the squat because I've got a Williams ass. The whole family got big asses, so it meant I didn't have to squat too far down. I'm only 5'6" as well, so yeah, my squat was always my forte. I always had like Mark Benny and Mark Bennett and the coaches kind of called me a freak of nature in that sense. And at the time I just thought, this is kind of normal. Put me on a bench press. There were some boys benching 200 and I was down in the 130s thinking I was Hercules. That was enough for me, I wasn't getting any bigger than that. But my game was all power based.
Exactly, yeah. I think for people listening though, you talk about changing your game and changing the defensive structure, but people might not realise how powerful you were, like how strong you were.
Yeah, like I say, I had a good core, low centre of gravity.
Do you think gymnastics
good power
had
base,
anything to do with
100%.
As a youngster?
100%. I think gymnastics was fantastic. I did floor routine and box, and I wasn't one of these ones in the rings. I've not quite got to
That's
that
not
stage.
your party trick, is it?
No, but asked me to do like double back somersaults or hold my own body weight and stuff. For 7 years I did that.
Yeah.
And I was always really powerful. I did boxing as well, and I was quite an effective boxer. Even though I was pretty small, I was always fighting guys that were a foot taller than me and were about 10 kilos heavier than me, and I loved it. And I could compete. I was quite fiery in that sense. So when I went and started training with the national team, I was breaking 40-meter sprint records almost immediately, and the guys are like, "Have you done sprint training before?" I was like, "No, I'm quite explosive. I could step off both, and I've done gymnastics, and and I think I still got the 40-meter national record." But
who's come close to it?
Well, back in my day, Mark Jones was pretty sharp in a straight line.
He was sharp, yeah.
And probably would have me over 100. But for 40 meters, the first 10 meters, I
played against you. I know. I played with you. I couldn't keep up with you.
Yeah, well,
Even on the same team.
That was my forte. I didn't score many 100-meter tries, but I scored a lot of 10 and 40-meter ones because of I was dynamic and my explosive speed. But that helped then with things like squatting. I'd go up and warm up in the squat with 200 kilos in the bar, and the coach would be like pulling his head. He's like, "Shane, what are you doing, mate?" I said, "I'm going to warm up for the set." And so you got 200 kilos on the back, and I'd be up in the high 200s, and people were like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
But that just felt natural to me. I think it's no surprise. I look at people who have done gymnastics over the years, like Gareth Cooper.
Yeah.
Very good gymnast over the years as well, and he was very similar to me. His 40 meters was under 5 seconds. He was a good squatter. His power to weight ratio was up there with mine as well. And I think that was no surprise that we'd both done gymnastics over the years. Gareth Edwards, people talk about his explosive speed, his power, etc. He was a big gymnast for years and years.
Oh, so listen, my son Fred is being signed up for gymnastics now from next week.
Do it. Honestly.
He doesn't know it yet.
Do it. Oh, is it all right? Okay. I've always said it. I've always encouraged, like Carter with me, I took him to one gymnastics session, paid the fees for like 6 months, and then he's like, "Nah, I don't fancy this." And my daughter done it for a while, but it definitely helped. I used to find as well, I didn't do weights in school. I felt I didn't have to. I was in good nick because I was a gymnast.
Yeah.
And
it's that foundation, isn't it?
You think you're chocolate anyway, don't you? But I was like, wow, this gymnastics is all right. I'll keep doing this at lunchtime because, I've got a set of arms on me and I got a bit of a chest and, big quads, so to speak. But it was. I think it was a huge part and huge contribution to what I did in rugby. I'd encourage it now at professional level. People do yoga and they do the Pilates, which is great. Even I saw last week that the French team have started doing dancing.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah,
I think that's brilliant.
It's awesome.
I think it's fantastic because it is. It's developing yourself in different ways.
Yeah.
And look, if DuPont does dancing, then we're all going to do dancing,
Exactly,
surely, aren't
yeah.
we? But yeah, gymnastics, brilliant. Best thing ever.
Highlights, is there, I know we talked about this period, 2008, but is there a game, are there moments in your career where you actually, well, the highlights, the moments where it gave you pure joy?
Loads. I think, scoring in the 2008 final game against France always stands out because it was a massive Grand Slam decider. My try and then nugget, Martin Williams scored as well. That was huge because of the occasion and the crowd and the pressure we were under. That'll always kind of sit with me. My last game where I played for Wales, I scored in the dying seconds. That'll always live with me. Not just scoring that try, but knowing that when I scored that try, that was the last time I'd wear the Welsh jersey, knowing that I'm never going to get a chance to do this again. So what a way to kind of finish. Yeah. We lost the game. That's how selfish I am, by the way.
Was it the last time you touched the ball as well? I think I read somewhere that
it was the last touch in an international jersey. And I remember scoring it and turning around and celebrating with the boys. And I looked to the sideline and my kids were literally on the where you walk. Right, they weren't sat down because they were mascots on the day. They were there watching and they didn't have a clue what was going on. I don't think they even know that Dad scored. They were very young then as well. It was just, I just remember looking at that and thinking, look, Shane, what a way to finish. And the crowd like being up on their feet for 20 minutes, chanting my name, just clapping, it was the most emotional thing ever. I loved it, absolutely loved it. But I look back and
what did you do
look
that
at
night?
games. Oh, we came back here.
Yeah.
Quick story. We finished the game and all the boys were like, right, come on, Shane, let's get to town. We're having a big one tonight. And I was like, boys, I've been crying all afternoon. Right? I was like, I can't. Like, it's just going to be a waste of a night. Boys are going to kill me. Like, it's going to be too emotional. I can't do it. No. I said, I'm going home. I'm jumping on the bus with the Amman lot. We had about 6 buses from the Amman United. And I said, I'm going to go back to the club because I want to thank everyone for turning up and supporting me over the years. But it's a quiet one. Whatever. So finished, had our dinner afterwards. The boys started dispersing. I went. Gail was there, my wife, and the kids, and so we jumped on the bus. My kids had a lift home with their grandparents because there was a bit of drinking going on the bus. So we jumped on the bus, came back here, and I remember stopping the bus and thinking, "Oh my God, how the hell are all these people going to get in this club?" Anyway, we walked through by here, literally through by here, and as I opened the door by here, who stood in front of me was Alan Wynne, Hugh Bennett, Paul James, all the Welsh boys had come back to celebrate the night with me back in the Amman United, you know. I'm sure they'd have had a more exotic night out in Cardiff, but so that'll always play with me.
After you retired, though, you went from the Ospreys, you had 3 years out in Japan. That must have been an interesting period for you, being the tallest member in the team.
Don't hear that often.
But after you actually retired, you came back out of retirement to play for the Amman.
Yeah.
And you played with your brother. Can you tell us about that last game? Was that the last game of rugby you actually played? Because you keep retiring and then you keep playing.
Yeah, it was. I had 3 great years in Japan. That came from nowhere. I'd retired and I'd set up a business, heating oil business with my in-laws in the Amman Valley, just down the road. I had a phone call to go to Japan, and I just thought, well, this is, what an opportunity. Went out there, 3 brilliant years out in Tokyo with my family. Absolutely loved it. And in all honesty, if I'd have been single and didn't have children back then, I might still be there. You never know. It was brilliant. We were so looked after. Everyone was great. Enjoyed the culture. Had a great 3 years there. But came back. But whilst I was in Japan, there was a mate of mine, and he's in the pictures, and he's in a lot of the pictures actually, called Carl, who was the captain of Amman when I finished with the Amman back in 1999.
Oh my gosh, so before you turned professional, got it.
And he was coaching at the Amman. But when I played with him, he said, "Look, Shane, if it doesn't work out in Neath, you are coming back here." And I said, "Yeah, don't worry." Didn't really expect it to work out in Neath anyway, to be honest with you. But whatever. And then you can imagine, I've played for Wales for a number of years, a couple of Grand Slams, a couple of Lions tours, etc. And I'm in Japan, and he's kind of messaging me saying, remember that promise you made me that you're going to come back and play for the Amman? And I was like, all right, okay. So look, I'll come back, but let's get a couple of the old guard back. I'd love to. My brother was still kind of playing at the time. He was wanting to retire. So I said, look, don't retire. Let's have another year together.
Want to play with your brother?
Yeah. Because I'd never played with him,
Wow.
really, obviously, in a real team. A couple of my brother-in-laws and loads of mates that I played with in the past, or I'd kind of worked with as youth or whatever. Yeah. I said, look, let's get the proper Amman United team here. We had no imports, as they say. We were all playing for fun. I didn't want anyone getting paid in the team. I didn't think that was right. And I said, that just spoils things. So let's have a proper season. And I came back and trained with the boys, loved it.
You play the full season then?
I was there for the season.
Yeah.
I'm going to lie if I say I played every game.
Of course, yeah. But my point is, you committed to the season.
Yeah. I played a lot of games.
Yeah.
I loved it. Enjoyed it. Massive target on my back. A couple of stitches, couple of nasty injuries as the season went on. Normally from late tackles or off the ball incidents. But I knew that was coming, so I like I say, I'm pretty resilient, and I thought I was tough. And then we won the league unbeaten. Played in the National Bowl, where the final is played at the Millennium Stadium, Principality Stadium, whatever you want to call
Always
it.
Be the Millennium Stadium.
Yeah, exactly. And we got all the way to the final. The problem was that in semi-final we played Cardigan up in Lampeter, neutral ground, and one of the fellas took an instant dislike to me, which is quite normal actually, to be honest, on the rugby field, and decided to headbutt me off the ball, which fractured my cheekbone and my jaw. I was told, I shouldn't really be playing in the bowl final. My answer was, well, maybe I could stay away from the physicality. And the funny thing was that after that headbutt, nothing got done. No one got cited. Not even. I don't think there was even a penalty. But anyway, I had a
different game there.
I know. I had a speaking engagement in the Diplomat in Llanelli, and I turned up, and as I was driving down, obviously my jaw was pretty sore during the game, but after the game, and then you have a drink, and then a time sets in. By the time I got to the Diplomat, I couldn't talk. So I got to the Diplomat, and I was doing it with Phil Bennett, God rest his soul, absolute legend, love him to bits. And I pretty much said, look, Phil, I can't talk. I'm meant to be doing a speech. What the hell am I going to do? It's no problem. He said, I'll sort it. So I ended up just sitting there listening to Phil Bennett do an hour speech about me. It was much better than my speech, right? And I was just like, Jesus, one of my heroes, one of the legends of the game, knows more about me than I know about myself. And I was just like, that he just went through the roof in my estimations. What a legend Phil was. So did that, got back. Sorry, I didn't go back. I went straight to the hospital. I said, look, I've pretty much taken a big one on the jaw here. I had an x-ray. So I fractured my jaw and my cheekbone. And I was like, oh, Jesus. And I think the game, it wasn't a week. It was 2 weeks maybe after the incident. And we had the final. And they were like, Shane, what are you going to do? I said, well, I've got to play. I'm not getting you to the final, not playing, boys. So I was made available for the game. There was all talk about trying to get me to wear a skull cap, and I just looked ridiculous. So I was like, no, it's not happening. There was no concussion or anything, So I was ready to go, and I just remember coming to the club in the morning, nice and early, just sat here. And it just took me back to being an international rugby player again. It was like being at the Vale Hotel, seeing some of the boys who were nervous, seeing some of the boys having the nervous laugh and the giggle, and the boys that were really serious. And I came here and you could hear a pin drop. I've never seen so many nervous faces in all my life. And it just made me giggle, because I was thinking, a lot of these boys now giving you the big one for the final, they're going to smash all these. And honestly, it was like a room of 10-year-olds just wouldn't say nothing to anyone. Got on the bus, nothing changed. And I just remember being excited and nervous. I'd been in this position before, but I so much wanted to win this game for the boys,
Why was it different?
I don't know. I just felt a huge responsibility of, we've come this far. I'd be absolutely devastated if we lost in the final. And I speak to the Caerphilly boys, right? We played Caerphilly in the final. I speak to a couple of them quite regular. And I said, boys, I'm sorry you lost in that final. And they were like, look, it was gutted for us, but what a day, you know? We absolutely loved it.
Hell of it, was it?
43-31. It was a ding-dong. It was a ding-dong. I missed the stinking tackle as well off the opposite wing. He was so big and round. I went to tap up and get my arms around him. I dropped off and he scored a worldie. But anyway, but what a player he was on the day. But it was great, you know? But that I swear to God, I was as nervous leading up to that game as I was, you know, going to a Grand Slam final, or, you know, the last game of Six Nations, or the World Cup semi-final. A game's a game at the end of the day. You know, you feel the responsibility of the 14 other guys on the field with you. You want to do well for you and for them. And it was exactly the same on the day. And I was thinking, it would be great for my brother to win a game at the Millennium Stadium, to have a trophy to kind of lift up, and, you know, for the crowd as well afterwards. And it was great. It was brilliant. We went on and we did win the match eventually. One of my best days ever in a rugby jersey, honestly. And I'm comparing that to World Cup semi-finals, Grand Slam deciders, European Cup games, wherever it may be. It was just a great day, and you know, to see what it meant to these boys after the final whistle and in the change rooms afterwards, and seeing the crowd, it was awesome, absolutely awesome. Again, that was the last. I was going to say, it wasn't the last time we put rugby boots on. I've played in like testimonial games and things like that, but that was it for me. What a way to finish. And actually, I still look as the teams are behind you there. Half those boys, and I say 3/4 of those boys, finished on that day as well. And they were like, look, it's not going to get any better than this. You know, we've come out of rugby unscathed. I think it's time to call it quits, and majority of them did.
Shane, diolch yn fawr iawn.
Pleasure, bye.
Cheers, bud.
Diolch.
Thank you. Diolch. Thanks for spending your time with me on this first episode of Beyond the Breakdown. And with such a legend too, huge diolch to Shane for sharing with us, and to all the crew at the Amman for making us feel so welcome. Shane is a legend of the game, a great guy, but he's also the epitome of what this podcast series is about. People who are rooted in their communities, working hard for their communities and championing their communities. Shane is Amman United, and you can hear so clearly what the club means to him, as well as his frustration at the disconnect between the elite game and local clubs like his. Let's hear from a few more voices of those involved in some of the clubs in and around Ammanford.
But I think sport does give people a good outlet as well, because on the weekend where you've had good week, bad week in work, and then you've got the opportunity to play on a weekend, or even, you know, our walking rugby team now, you know, they've started on a Thursday night. The sense of belonging is absolutely massive.
For me, it was such a big part of my formative years. I was fortunate enough to play youth rugby here and move into the first, where, you know, I got to know people, got to make contacts from a business perspective. I you know, managed to make a career out of just knowing people from the club.
Most clubs will tell you it costs money just to keep a pitch at a good playable level. This is an excellent pitch. If you want to play running rugby, this is where you come. It's Cardiff Arms Park size, and the surface is as good as Cardiff Arms Park. So if you want to play running rugby, this is the place to come.
Through this podcast series, as we've just heard, we want to connect with voices from people out there in our amazing local clubs. Making this podcast, having these conversations, has really made me reflect on how important our community clubs are. As a volunteer coach and former player, I often saw the clubs that I'd been involved in through the lens of the weekly match, just 1 or 2 days of the week. But the conversations I've had through this podcast series have really brought home to me how much more they are. These are spaces that we need to fight for to ensure they survive and thrive for all generations coming through. Welsh rugby is at a crossroads, sadly. As a player, I've been here before with the Warriors, and it doesn't feel like we've learned any lessons. For all the talk of pathways and elite regions, no one is saying anything meaningful about the future of our local clubs. As Shane talked about today, we need to make sure the future of our sport is rooted where it begins. At home, in our communities, with the fans. And a system that supports everyone who wants to be involved and everyone who wants to play. How mad is it that Shane didn't get picked up by the elite game until he was 21? As he says in our conversation, if that was today, he would have probably been totally missed. How many other Shanes are out there now? It goes to show that our clubs and the communities around our clubs are absolutely key to the future of our game. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, Rich Parks, on this episode of Beyond the Breakdown. A huge thanks to Shane, of course, the production team at Copper, Dav Griffiths and Clea Morgan from Cardiff Metropolitan University, who gathered the Vox Pops, Michaela, John and the whole team down at Amman United, Sophie Jenkinson from Round Our Way, Alex Bevan, Becky Jarvis, Joe Towns, Mike Brown from Cardiff Rugby, and to Craig Maloney, Daryl Morgan, Carwyn Jones, Robert Knight and Daryl Parkin, who all spoke to us at Ammanford Rugby Football Club.
Very quick on the wing, just a return pass, and he's over, and that's it.